Hello, how are you, Stephanie?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing outstanding. You look incredible. You look very happy and joyous. So I see some, did I lose you?
No, I'm here. Can you
Okay.
see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. You look outstanding. You look happy. You look joyous. Look at all that sunshine coming from back there.
Thanks.
What's going
I
on
know
back there?
it's a gorgeous day in London. We're having a super awesome, beautiful day. It's a holiday, a bank holiday. Actually, my neighbors are in the street having a cocktail.
Having a
But
cocktail. And
it's gorgeous.
please
Yeah, it
say you
feels
have
like
a cocktail. Please say you have a
I,
cocktail.
I do have a little mini gin and tonic.
I love it. You know, I
It's
miss
Friday afternoon.
I
It's
miss
Friday afternoon.
London. I miss London. It's such a
I
beautiful, beautiful
know.
place. I love that place.
We've had some good meetings here, haven't we?
Yes, we sure have,
Yeah.
my friend.
Well,
So
when time allows, get back.
I can't wait to get back. So thank you for joining Group Think. This is our sixth episode, and it's an honor to have you. You know, someone who's such an incredible human being. Thank you very much for being a part of this. So let's
Thank
jump
you.
right into this, my friend.
Okay.
So, Stephanie, tell us a little about your professional background and what is 31st State?
Okay. Somebody asked me recently to put my professional background, make an analogy for what my career has been. And what came to mind, being from California, is PCH, Pacific
Yep.
Coast Highway. And if I could encapsulate what it is, it's PCH. It's a beautiful, iconic stretch of road that traverses the length of California and beyond. It's marked by rugged terrain, unexpected hairpins, beautiful long stretches, all the while beautiful, inspiring, and fulfilling. And so for me, I always think that's kind of how my career has felt. I started in PR, working in the pharmaceutical industry, pretty dry, but super interesting and challenging. Made my way into working in fashion for a designer here, and then got into the luxury travel business with a safari company in Africa. And then about 2.5 years ago, I launched 31st State. And I had no experience doing it, but I went for it. It's a brand that I founded basically for my boys, my teenage boys, members of Gen Z. And it's called 31st State because it's named after California, where I'm from. And it kind of embodies this mentality that we have in California, that it's sort of a place, but it's also a state of mind. You know, California is a very innovative place. It's very forward thinking in terms of the economy, in terms of technology, the environment, beauty, wellness, health. And I wanted this brand to embody that. So we came up with this whole idea that the 31st State is a place, but also a state of mind. So it's been cool.
That's wonderful. I mean, I think that's really, really, really incredible. So can you walk us through a little bit, like what made you take that leap of faith from your previous career in the safari, and elaborate a little bit on the safari, because you've done some extraordinary things in the safari world, and,
It's been fun.
and start this business?
Yeah, so actually I think you and I met because a friend had put us in touch to talk about travel, to talk
Correct.
about luxury travel. Because at the time you were writing more for like Forbes and things like that. So I started many years ago, started helping a friend market her safari company. She's based in Kenya, and it just grew into something bigger. And I ended up launching something on my own with two great girlfriends. One lives in New York, in Bedford, and one's in Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
And our whole feeling was that in travel, and I'm sure you can appreciate this, that it's so easy to get it wrong. And really, at the end of the day, we all want to travel like we're with our best friends and with the locals. And, you know, you live in New York. If somebody one of your friends came to New York, they're going to call you for recommendations. They're not going to go on TripAdvisor, right? So the way we modeled it was that we found guides we loved in every country we go to in Africa, and we really crafted the business around their local life. And so we wanted clients to feel like they were locals when they got to those countries. So it's been a really beautiful, cool company, and it's called And3. It's based in New York, London, and Sydney. And we take people to East and Southern Africa, and the trips are amazing and just beautiful. And we go to some really, really cool places. So when the world allows, again, can't wait to get people there again. So
I love that. I love that. So, I mean, I've been to Africa several times, and it's an extraordinary continent. And so what sets 31st State apart from other acne solutions that are on the market?
Well, one of the big things that I noted, I mean, first of all, like I said, I had no experience in this. I didn't know anything about skincare. I marketed pharmaceuticals as a career for 12 years, but I didn't know about making them. I didn't know about ingredients, but my boys were 13 and 14 and just starting to develop acne and needing to shower and wanting to do their hair. And it was just those sort of awkward adolescent years that I suddenly found myself in with them, and I wanted to find natural products for them to use. Here I was giving them, you know, organic food, and when they were babies, pureeing everything natural and organic, and I wouldn't put a chemical near them in the bath or their plates. And in our household cleaning products, we removed all the chemicals and, you know, laundry care products. And then I was really mystified that when they suddenly turned, let's say 13, that what was marketed to them was Lynx, or we call it Lynx here, you guys call it Axe. And it's, you know, all the products that were marketed to them were just jammed with chemicals. And I really felt like I wanted something that was healthier for them. They didn't care. They just wanted it to work and look cool, right? It needed to fit in with their lifestyle. They were, you know, they care about those things. And so I just started doing research sort of in the natural space. And what I realized is there was this white space in the clean beauty sector for Gen Z, but really specifically, and it is very much a niche for guys. And at the time when I thought of this, now it was sort of 4 or 5 years ago, we've been on the market 2.5 years, there was nothing on the market specifically for them in the clean beauty space. It was like Tom's of Maine and things like that for more adults, and then sort of more condescending, more babyish brands for either girls or babies or women. But there was nothing that was made for them in that space. And I was very mystified why something couldn't be natural, couldn't deliver on results, couldn't be made with premium active natural ingredients, but still look good and be designed in an aspirational way that a 13, 14, 17, 18-year-old guy would be psyched to pull it out of his gym bag and not feel insecure or dorky because it could sit with his trainers or, you know, his streetwear and look cool with all this other stuff. And so that was the real impetus. And it was funny because I sort of thought about it and I never did anything, but it was starting to get embarrassing. Friends kept saying, why I would buy that for my son. I need a Christmas stocking stuffer.
Right.
Why aren't you making it? And it just started getting embarrassing. Sure, you understand with your brand, everyone's like, when are you launching?
Yeah.
I started to get embarrassed, to be honest with you. And then finally, I just kind of was going through this period of my life where I suddenly had confidence again. And I was just like, F it, why am I not doing this? I'm just going to bite the bullet and go for it. And I did a bunch of market research before I even lifted a finger in finding a manufacturer, anything. I just researched the market. I researched products. I did focus groups that we paid for with boys and their moms.
Yep.
And the reason we talked to the moms is because for the younger end of the Gen Z demographic, their mothers are the purchasers. So we needed to understand what they cared about, how they groomed, what they used, what they cared about. You know, did natural matter to them? Did eco-friendly matter to them? You know, what was the sensory experience they wanted from it? So we really worked hard on the research.
Yeah.
And that took about a year. And then we started developing the product. So it's been a long haul. When I heard Allison from Type A say, oh, we launched it in 2 years, I was like, oh my God, how did you do that?
And by the way, I'm sending that connection today, so just stand by right after our call. You get that email. Of course.
She was awesome and so inspirational, and I was so envious of her career like her industry connections.
Yeah.
Because that was the hard thing. I had to like figure all that out. You know, I didn't know up from down in the grooming beauty sector.
This is what GroupTHINK is about. We're all about connecting. And so, you know, when you look at a lot of these other Zooms and a lot of things, you know, everyone is not sharing. And this is what we want to do. We want to share. Yeah. We want to bring people together, and we want to shed light and open this up for the world.
Yeah, so, it's awesome.
So thank you very much. So as we continue, what is your distribution strategy, and are you on other platforms besides your website?
Yeah, so when I launched, I thought, and when I was developing the product, I interviewed a lot of people about distribution. And one of the guys I spoke to was one of the original investors in Dollar Shave Club.
Okay.
Now, this was 4 years ago. And I was like, I'm going to develop a direct-to-consumer model. You know, they just sold for $1 billion to Unilever. It's like, I'm going to build a direct-to-consumer subscription business for teenage boys and their skincare and grooming needs. So somebody hooked me up with him, and we had this great talk, and I was super inspired. And I really was driven to make it this really focused model. And what we found when we launched is that it was really hard without a lot of money behind you to get those customers. To acquire customers is expensive. And we were starting from scratch. And, you know, as you know, to bring a range to market is really expensive, especially when you're using more premium ingredients. And, you know, we spent a lot of money getting to market. So we didn't have a lot to work with once we were launching. And so we were kind of plugging along, and a couple of months in, ASOS discovered us. And I think everyone in America is probably familiar, but it's As Seen on Screen, and it's one of the largest fashion e-retailers in the world. But they also have a lot of beauty, a lot of vegan beauty, and their demographic is predominantly Gen Z and millennials. And it's just a super cool platform, super edgy, and you know, really increasingly focused on sustainability and vegan products and healthier products. And anyway, so they found us. It was just awesome. It was amazing. And it was that moment that I thought, okay, I didn't even think twice, actually. You know, I was sort of like, if nothing else, this will be the greatest marketing exercise because it'll just get our name out there. And it did, you know, it really gave the brand validity. It's like kind of overnight. And then we were just a little bit off to the races, you know, then other retailers start taking note, you start getting press without trying. And it just had a cachet that really helped us. And they've been an awesome partner since. And so now with our distribution, it's about 50-50 direct to consumer and retail. And then within our retail part, it's the good thing is that it's sort of split between bricks and mortar and digital. And so we haven't been annihilated in this. It's definitely a challenge, but because so much of our distribution is digital, we've been doing pretty well. Our own website sales, our own sales have doubled the last couple of months, which has been amazing.
Wow, congratulations.
And then we've seen a major uptick with Amazon, of course, with ASOS. We're on an online grocery retailer here, a luxury grocery retailer called Ocado.
Okay.
They're coming to America. They're selling their platform to people like Kroger and, you know, big grocery chains. So hopefully we'll have some inroads there. But all of that digital side has been going. I mean, obviously the bricks and mortar is just totally dead. Like, I don't know when they'll open, and I don't know what we can count on after that. We were supposed to launch with Urban Outfitters in March in the US, in the top six stores in the US, which was just amazing for a little brand like us. Yeah. And it's just on hold. I have
change the language. Change the language. You are a big brand. You're not a little brand.
Yes. Okay. Yes. We're a young big brand.
Exactly. There you go.
You're good. You're good. I know. Totally. It is like all about, you know, all about how you position it and your way of thinking, right?
That's it. It's about the mind.
Totally. And, you know, I think it's the strategy to continue with a more varied multi-channel distribution strategy has really paid off for us. As I said, it wasn't how I envisioned the brand originally, but it's kind of where we got to. And in the end, it has completely saved us. So
that's incredible. And so as we dive deep, you know, you were talking about the amount of money that you put in. Did you secure investment prior to development or after? And what was the hardest part of developing a business and the most challenging?
Yeah, so we self-funded all the initial research. So all the focus groups, all the consultants, we hired a product developer I had no idea what I was doing. So we hired someone. We paid for all the upfront stuff, the product development. And then I took on a small friends and family round of investment just pre-launch to take us through launch and through that first year. And now we haven't taken on anything since.
Okay.
So we're hoping we don't for a while, and we've been cruising along and growing organically, and it's been good. The shame is this was supposed to be our year to really scale because,
right.
well, with Urban Outfitters, and we were supposed to go into Boots, which is owned by, it's the Boots Walgreens Alliance. You guys have Walgreens, but you know, it's our largest chemist in this country and in Ireland. And it has great scale. And we were supposed to, again, launch first quarter. Now it's going to be more like August, but hopefully it'll give us the scale we're looking for now. So we'll see.
That's pretty rad. So as far as talking points, you know, Gen Z is the most diverse, right? I mean, they're massive, and according to WGSN, I mean, Gen Z are skin textuals, right? Like they're all about their skin. They're all about taking care of themselves. They all want to feel good, look good. What is their buying power relative to the other groups within your segment?
Yeah, so I mean, they're now Gen Z worldwide is 40% of the consumer spending in the world, which is huge if you think about it. And so every marketeer and every company around the world is sitting around a conference, well, not a conference room table anymore, a Zoom call. They're figuring out, how do we reach these kids? How do we market to them? And how do we secure their dollars into our company? So they wield huge power. They're the next generation of voters, of leaders, consumers. So you can't underestimate them. And they're an interesting cohort because they were raised during a recession, and now they're going into their adulthood in another recession. You know, they were raised in 2008, 2009, 2010, when we were deep in recession. And now with this, there's this overwhelming feeling, and this is what I've learned from we have a large contingent of contributors and interns that we've been talking to for all of this. I'll share more about that later. But with that, and then other research I've been reading, that there's this, sorry, my doorbell. There's this overwhelming feeling that this is how they're going to live their lives. They think that their lives are going to be marked by recession. And so they are, as a result, this might be one of the biggest reasons they're so entrepreneurial. And I'm sure that we've all heard that about this group, is that they are ambitious, they're crafty, they're selling stuff on Depop, they're building their own businesses, they're learning to code. So they have spending power. I think what I know from ourselves and research, I'm so sorry about my doorbell.
It's okay. I mean, this is life and this is Zoom. It's okay.
I can't come out. Anyway, they're very careful about how they spend their dollars, you know, and it's interesting as a brand because we built our proposition for them. Instead of being a company that had a product that we're trying to now cater to Gen Z, we made this for them. So from the get-go, our whole proposition was, this is a brand for Gen Z, but by Gen Z. And so what that meant was that we wanted them to be a part of the process from the beginning. As I said, they did focus groups with us at the beginning. They helped with product development. They sat in research sessions where we smelled scents, where we went through fragrances, where we tested texture. They were part of product design. They create our content. They write our blog. They do our photography. Some of it's good, some of it's not so good. But the whole point with it is that I didn't want it to be a brand created by a woman in her 40s who is the mother of teenage kids in Gen Z. I wanted it to be a brand that was a platform for them, for what they believed in. Yeah. And so we're super proud of it. And it is imperfect for sure, because it's not always super slick looking, not always the most stylish, but it's them, it's them writing the blog, it's their photography, and
they're hands-on. They're hands-on.
Sorry?
I said they're hands-on, so that's really incredible.
Yeah, totally.
You should allow that. Because a lot of brands and people...
Totally. And so now, sorry about the noise.
Oh, no. Go ahead. This is Zoom. We're good. Continue. Go ahead. You were saying something? Hello? Did you freeze?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
No, continue. I thought you froze.
No, I was apologizing for the noise of people coming in else.
No worries. This is Zoom. It's okay. We're
Yeah.
in a roll now. So I'm just gonna just take it and move further. How has your shift and your strategy changed, with what's happening in today's world?
Yeah. So we have, I mean, it's a shit show properly. I think we can all attest to that the world is pretty much a shit show at the moment. But I think for us, one of the greatest gifts we've had is that we have built up this really loyal following of purchasers and users and contributors. So what we did as a company is there was the whole financial side, which I sat with our CFO and we scrutinized every single penny we spent, from newsletter subscription to product development to PR agencies to consultants. And we've really shaved everything back as far as we can because cash is king and we don't know how long the recession is going to, I don't know what's going to happen with retail. So, we're in cash preservation mode. At the same time, I do feel like we had to put this other hat on and be less defensive and more offensive because for a young brand, not small, but young, I think it's just a huge opportunity to grow and to make ground on our bigger competitors. And I think where a lot of people are hibernating at the moment, I think there's a great opportunity to just sort of go for it if, within reason and what I can afford to do. And so where people were telling me just like cut off the PR agency, cut off all the interns writing blogs posts for you. We've kept that going because those kids are our lifeblood. They are our users. They're the ones that create our content and they're who we want to stand for. And so I have to believe that when we come out of it, they're going to be loyal to us because we kept them going. We kept the focus on them. So yes, we've definitely cut costs and I've had to make some, cut back everybody's hours, which means I've taken back tons. My husband's taken on tons. We're so busy, but it's also made me get really close to parts of the business that I've pushed, hired out because it's not my strong suit. And I've had to take it back. And it's been really good for me as a CEO to just be more hands on different parts of the business. But from a strategic standpoint, I would say that we turned inward and we really are focusing on our own consumer right now. We're looking at about their well-being. What do they need right now? What communications do they need from us? How can we make their life better? And what we've seen is those communications have resulted in a lot of sales. As I said, our sales have doubled on our site with existing customers. We've also put more money into our digital marketing budget. And again, where people are cutting, it's gotten cheaper to market digitally because people are cutting. And we've had great success. We've had, I can't remember the number of our percentage of new customer rate, but it's significantly higher than it's been in the past.
That's incredible.
So we're just kind of trying to not worry about the external retail world. That said, with our existing digital retailers like ASOS and Ocado and a super cool company in London called Victoria Health, we are reaching out to them saying how can we support you? How can we market better? Are there bundles we can put together? What promotions can we do? So we're really reaching out to our retailers to see how we can drive their sales too.
And that's great. So as you were talking about, being a CEO and this new learning curve that you have developed, walk us through that. What are the new things that you've learned? What are the challenges that you're facing?
Okay. Well, one huge thing is that I am not a numbers person. I am, in my mind, I'm creative and I know I'm so focused on sort of the aesthetic of the brand. And like you, I spend my life networking and meeting people and trying to grow the business and thinking really big picture. And I've been fortunate to be able to offload some of the things that I find more difficult, the whole financial side. Okay, so I've just totally focused on it. I've been sitting with my husband in finance and, he makes me schedule time in his diary. Quite funny. I'm like, no, I'm not. Just come and talk to me when you're ready. But anyway, he's been sitting with me and going through the finances and literally teaching me how to be a better financial manager because I put that off to our operations director and she's tremendous and just scrutinizes everything we spend, but it's important for me to be closer to those numbers. And so that's been a real blessing for me, is to be getting close to that. And then also I've been spending a ton of time working with all of our contributors. Mm-hmm. So one of the things we did during this time was we reached out to all of our users and all these Gen Z contributors and interns that we've had over the years. We've probably had 100 different kids writing and doing photography. They're awesome.
Throughout the world or only in England?
No, all over. Lots in the US and here, a couple in Africa, a couple in India, and just an awesome cross section of kids. And it all grew kind of word of mouth. Like once in a while I put something up on my Facebook, like we need some photographers, or I need a couple interns for the spring break. And,
So would you classify them as like ambassadors for the brand?
Yeah, they are, because they're not, what's interesting is we're not asking them to promote the brand. We want to hear about them. We want to hear about Gen Z, because everybody wants to know. And like I said, our purchaser, let's say 7 out of 10 times, is a mother buying for her son. And all we want as mothers is to understand our children. Yeah. That's all. I look at my kids and I'm like, oh my God, what? Somebody explain it to me, explain them to me. Yeah. And so what's been super amazing about this group of kids is that over the years is they've just shared their life with us. They write for us. And with this, we reached out to all of them and said, can you just write a 400-word blog post on how you're navigating this? How do you feel? What are your hopes and fears? And what are you doing to pass time? And, what do you think about the world? And they have been, you'll have to go on the website after this.
I will.
It's diaries. We're calling it Gen Z, the Corona Diaries.
Oh, that's incredible. I like that.
We probably have 70 kids have submitted blogs so far. And what's been super interesting is that while these kids, it's a generation marked by anxiety. Like it's one thing everybody talks about with Gen Z is how there are a lot of mental health issues. Personally, I don't think they have any more than we do, or baby boomers did, or millennials did, but they just talk about it. Like it's very normal to talk about being in therapy or that you have mental health challenges or whatever. But they do have a lot of anxiety. And what's been interesting is despite all their anxiety that this has caused in their life, like missed graduation, summer jobs canceled, internships, not knowing if college is starting in September, not getting to see boyfriends or girlfriends, they are super optimistic and positive generation. And it's so totally inspiring. And that's what it's so cool. And so you read their things and some of them are just hysterical. Like one boy wrote about how he, the whole China conspiracy theory that the Chinese created this, and his whole thing was about that. And, other girls talking about how she had it and how sick she was. And then other girl talking about, missing her graduation and anxiety about her future, kids worrying about money.
Yeah.
And then kids writing to us how they're using the time to learn to code. They are starting businesses. They are taking online Harvard courses.
So you're becoming you're becoming a Gen Z expert, and I think that's really incredible. That's what I'm hearing, and I think that you're taking the time to really kind of study what this is all about for the Gen Z market. So I have so many questions to ask you, so I want to keep moving forward because we can have this conversation.
I just want to add to that. What is funny about that, Troy, is that honestly, if somebody took the business away from me, or it died, or for some reason it failed and there were no skincare products,
right,
and all I did was work with Gen Z, I would be the happiest person on the planet. I think they effing rock. They're so interesting and they just want to be heard, and they have such amazing things to say.
That's incredible. Okay, I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take your note on that.
Okay.
And so, with all the shifts that we will see post COVID-19, what do you see as new opportunities for your business?
Yeah, so it's interesting because we've been really, as I said, we reached out to them and to their parents and wanted to just extend the sentiment that, like, we're here.
And when you say them, reference that, elaborate on them.
Well, our existing customer base.
Okay, got you.
Our existing customer base. I don't have the database for ASOS, so I can't write to those customers, but I can communicate with mine. And like I said, we just wanted to know how they're doing. And in this time, we haven't been marketing our products all that hard, except we're now starting to really focus on ingredients, because what I've been hearing from customers and in all these webinars I'm doing and all the research you're hearing is, and this is answering your question, where this is going, is I think there's going to be such a huge focus on obviously wellness. And so meaning like self-care, supplements, all of that, but also ingredients. People will be really hyper-focused on ingredients. And while we've been like Cloroxing the hell out of everything possible, I do think in skincare and you know, I don't think it's wishful thinking. I think that people will continue to want more natural ingredients. And one of the key words that comes up in every single thing I read and every talk I'm on with private equity guys to developers is antibacterial qualities. And we're super psyched because years ago when we developed this, we use natural antibacterial ingredients in ours. We have silver and manuka, and those are two super active ingredients that are great natural antibacterial elements. So those have been selling super well. And so while we started out not focusing on like, let's just shove product at people, let's just make sure they're cool and they're okay, and let's hear from the kids and what they're thinking. Now we're starting to market the products more overtly, because we're seeing that our body wash, our face wash, all these things with the silver and the manuka are flying because people want antibacterial. It's this whole mentality that there's a huge focus on hygiene. So it's wellness, hygiene, and ingredients is how we see it.
And so as we continue to talk about this process, how do you, through your manufacturing process, how do you help your products remain clean?
Yeah, so as I said, I didn't know anything about developing these products, but I did find someone who did a lot of product development for, kind of celebrity dermatologists, let's call them, and a lot of natural products. And so she led me to manufacturers here where the focus is cleaner ingredients. So I really rely on, I try to, again, this is something that I try to take on more, in my times, to know ingredients better. But with her, I really rely on her because she's this is what she does. She's at the forefront of manufacturing and formulations, and she's just been incredible. So we worked with a manufacturer here that was super great in terms of what they created. In terms of customer service, it was crap, but I've learned, I don't know how you guys are feeling. In another world, I'll become a manufacturer that gives good customer service. Anyway, we're on to somebody else now. We're having a few supply chain issues, but we are constantly trying to improve that. And it's funny because some ingredients, research will come out and say that, in fact, this ingredient is okay, or things come out down the road that say, this ingredient actually is not good for you. And so we're constantly watching and reformulating and trying to get better all the time. So
no, that's what you have to do. You have to continuously get better every second, every moment. And,
totally.
And hiring. Can you talk to us about any specific obstacles that you've had that you can tell us about that you've had to overcome?
Do you mean like the business or me personally?
For the business.
Okay, yeah. I have to say, I've never felt this moment of total crisis with this business. I thank God, and I think part of it is because it really was an unmet need, and there really was something to it, and it wasn't me just sitting at my kitchen table thinking oh, well, how can I make some money, and, I need a career change. It came from a place of need. So I think that was one real reason why we've had success. But I think that I haven't had any of these massive hurdles. I will say it's challenging when you don't have a huge amount of money, if you don't have a lot of money backing you, and you're sort of bootlegging it on your own with a small round of financing from friends and families. It's really hard to scale fast. And so when I hear some of your other guests talk about how quickly they've grown, it's interesting to find out how much money they had behind them. But I would say that's the biggest challenge is do you raise money to grow really fast, or do you just keep growing organically? And I know we have a great thing. We have a super high repeat customer rate. Our retailers keep ordering. We're really onto something. And so my feeling, and luckily my friends and family, round of investors feel the same, that, you know, organic growth is king, is, you know, slow and steady wins the race. And a lot of people make mistakes when they take on too much funding too soon.
Yeah.
And there is something to be said when you are confined, you have constraints, you're often more creative and you're more scrappy, and you create more dynamic things because you don't have the luxury of a lot of money and access to people. So I hope that answers.
No, that answered it very well. And
yeah.
What has been your key to managing family life with starting a beauty company?
If you could see the rest of my house right now. Well, full disclosure, 2 of my teenagers, they go to boarding school. And so they're home now, but I couldn't have done it, honestly, if I had 3 of the kids underfoot. So when I hear Allison talk about having 2 toddlers, I don't know how they do it, because the reality is, no matter how helpful your partner is, the work it falls on the woman. It really does. And in this time, we've heard so many people talk about that inequity, and it's no criticism of partners, and mine's amazing, but it's very, very hard to balance. And I think one of the biggest things is that I think mothers carry a whole other level of worry about their children than maybe their dads do. Mm-hmm. And so maybe if I'm not physically doing so many chores and cooking and planning the meals and trying to work, it's just this constant level of concern for them, which is really at the root of it. Why I started the business, because I cared so deeply about what they were navigating as they went through adolescence. You know, seeing like their heartbreak was as big as a girl's. You know, when they get acne, it's just as damaging to their self-confidence as it is a girl's. They have body image issues too. And I don't know, I think moms, we by nature think about all that stuff. So it's this whole other layer of concern that we carry on our shoulders. But, you know, I've been lucky. You know, in terms of balancing it all, they're awesome kids. They have all learned to clean toilets in the last couple of weeks. They have all cooked some meals, so that's good. My husband's awesome, like super hands-on and so supportive and helpful. And, I've just been lucky with that around. I mean, it's, you know, I'm lucky I've had a happy home life to make it all work. So, you know, I try to build in all my yoga and tennis and running and try to stay healthy and all that stuff, but it's exhausting. It's definitely, you know, not an easy street. And since all this has happened, a couple friends have commented that how much more available I am and how much they've enjoyed having conversations with me. Like this one girlfriend in particular, who's quarantined on our own, I talk to her a lot, and we've had some cheeky 6, you know, feet apart walks. And she was just saying, she's like, I always felt afraid to call you because you're so busy, and it's been really nice to be reconnected. And, you know, I hate that about how busy this has all made me. It's been super rewarding, but it is busy, and it's definitely exhausting and hard. And there is, you know, it's no joke for sure. But anyway.
And so for all the women that are listening right now, what advice would you give a female founder?
Okay, I've been thinking tons about this. I love Michelle Obama so much. And I remember when the Obamas were leaving office, the New York Times Magazine had this piece on like different women writing a letter to Michelle Obama. And it was like Gloria Steinem, and I can't remember who the other ones, but Rashida Jones, the actress, wrote to her and just said how she marveled how Michelle showed us that women can do it all. Like, she was a great mom, she was a great wife, but she had a career, and she was civically, you know, she was civically engaged, she was politically minded, and, you know, all those things. And I've always appreciated that I never felt like I had to do it all, but you know, I think we can. I think you just have to be easy on yourself, that you can do it all. It's just not going to be perfect.
Right.
And that is the key, is that I just think you have to go for it. Like self-confidence is one of the hugest issues for women and why we don't go back into the workplace or why we don't launch companies. And your other guests have talked about that. And it is something that holds women back. And I think you have to stop being your own worst enemy, you know, and just fight it. But I saw this quote recently from Michelle Obama. I'm just going to read it to you. That
Yes,
I loved.
yes.
I hope I can read it. I have my glasses on. But she said, here's the secret. I have been at probably every powerful table that you can think of. I have worked at nonprofits. I have been at foundations. I have worked in corporations, served on corporate boards. I've been at G summits. I have sat in at the UN. They are not that smart. And I love it because I think as women, we battle like we're our own worst enemy. We have self-doubt and lack of confidence because you might stop to have kids, and just being a mom, it's a grind, it's exhausting, and it beats you up. And you know, we're not any less smart than any of the guys out there, but somehow, you know, and Allison touched on that, and I love it. You know, it was really refreshing hearing that, because sometimes you feel like, God, am I the only person that doesn't feel really smart walking into this room of men right now?
Yeah.
Or sitting at a private equity conference where it's all men investing in beauty, and they haven't lived in our shoes as a woman. You know, it's very interesting.
No, I thank you very much for, you know, speaking about that, right? Because I think the audience and the world needs to really understand, you know, what women experience and face. And so as we continue, you know, what are you doing personally as the world's on pause for yourself?
So I'm actually really loving it. I realize how busy I've made my life unnecessarily, but I mean, London, as you know, has so much cool cultural stuff that I always want to do. And so on top of working and kids, I'm always trying to scramble to this show or this exhibit or this opening. And it's been really nice to just chill and be with my family. As I said, my boys go to boarding school, so it's been awesome to have them home. And for our daughter who lives at home with us, it's been great for her to be with her brothers. And I've been doing a lot of this stuff. Like I've been spending time getting creative about the business. I've been trying to go on lots of these chats and listen to tons of webinars. We've been doing a lot of running in the beautiful parks in London, which has been awesome, and doing some yoga and just talking to friends, just kind of rebooting. You know, it's been really, as I said to you before the call, we've been so lucky because we haven't been personally impacted by any dear friends dying or family members. So, you know, I know it's coming from a place of luxury to say this, but it's been a really nice time to just totally reboot and get sleep and get creative.
Yeah.
And I think you're hearing that a lot, you know, from your contacts, and I'm hearing a lot from founders that we never have time to think. And this is a
special time. This is a tremendously special time for all of us to be able to do some extraordinary things and kind of like, as you said earlier, look inward. And I think this is a great time for all of us to look inward. And so what beauty or wellness brand in the Gen Z market is doing it right?
Okay, so there are a couple that I love. I mean, I love Billy. I know that's been talked about a lot. I think it's such a cool brand. It's more for girls. It made shaving, it brought the shaving market for girls, and it sort of destigmatized body hair, and it celebrated imperfections, and I love it, and I think they're totally nailing it. This is more wellness than beauty and grooming, but there's a clothing brand called Mad Happy, and they're based in LA. I love them. You should look them up. And their whole ethos is optimism. And, you know, everything's sustainably made and planet positive and carbon neutral. But their whole ethos is a brand, and everything they create in terms of their products, and they do a lot of events, is around optimism. And as I said, I think that really, despite the anxiety that marks this generation, I think that they're really marked by optimism. And that's pretty compelling. And then the last brand I always think about is this brand. They're based here in the UK, and it was started by actually two millennial girls, but they're marketing more to Gen Z now, but it's a sexual wellness company. And their whole thing was that, you know, women should feel empowered in the sexual space to, you know, when they're in, you know, when they're out with somebody, to them be the ones that are empowered to use birth control. So what they did is they redesigned condoms to be beautiful. Like they're wrapped in the most gorgeous foils. And so they look good in your Chanel clutch with your lipstick, your Tom Ford lipstick. And so the whole idea is that like, you don't want to open your bag and have like a blue and purple Durex condom next to your $50 Gucci lipstick, right? So, they're just sort of, again, destigmatizing like the idea that, you know, men are in control of sexual encounters. And it's just a beautiful, I think the branding's beautiful. I love the way they talk. And it's sort of like Sustain, which is a cool sexual wellness brand in the US, I think, that's nailing it. This is a little more, I would say, a grown-up version of that. It's more beautiful for women. So those are the three that I always think about, you know, and they're all, yeah, I think they relate to things that Gen Z cares about. So.
Okay. Well, as we get ready to wrap up, you know, I know you guys are on holiday in England. So,
yeah.
You know, this is a question that I like to ask, and it's from Oprah. And so what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, well, right now I would tell my 18-year-old to study biochemistry and create vaccines. But barring that, I would say to give yourself a break. We are so hard on ourselves, especially as we get older. And I would say just get off your own back and be good to yourself.
That's great. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining groupTHINK. Next week, we have Dr. Hadley King, who's a top dermatologist in New York City.
Cool.
And she will be on Wednesday. So, you know, take a listen,
awesome.
Everyone who's joining right now. Let's take a moment of silence for, you know, Maud, the gentleman who was killed in Georgia. So we take one moment of silence and then we will end this call. Stephanie, thank you so much. You have a kick-ass rest of your day, okay?
Thank you, dear. It's so good to see you.
So good to see you too. We will stay in touch and see each other very soon, okay? Take care of yourself, girl.
For sure. All right. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.